Okay, well, welcome to our viewers to our second Flatten the Curve video blog or vlog. I'm Daniel Fung from the MoveUP Communications Department, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by my colleague Niki Schnurr, who handles occupational health and safety and WCB appeals. So, Niki, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nikki, whenever I talk to you, I always feel like I learn something. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to pick your brain, but also to be able to share some insight with MoveUp's members about what you do. But first, I have to ask, since it's been a little bit over a month now that we've entered into this COVID-19 world, and like the majority of our staff here at MoveUp, you've transitioned to a work from home environment, I wanted to ask you how you were doing and how you're adjusting to things.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. It was a bit of a struggle. I mean, there's still some sticking points just with respect to working from home and the processes, but overall it's getting easier and better. So I'm doing okay. Thank you.
Well, that's fantastic, and I'm really glad to hear that. So I know what's on the mind of a lot of people are going to be issues related to health and safety as it relates to COVID-19. But first off, can maybe you can tell people actually what is it that exactly that you do here for MoveUp?
Okay, yeah. So I represent people with their WCB appeals, so that's a large portion of my job. And the other portion of my job is occupational health and safety. So I often give advice on OH&S matters to our union reps, our job stewards, and OH&S members. I sometimes get involved with these matters, raise the issues with employers. With respect to OH&S, I've drafted surveys. I've helped OH&S members with written recommendations to the employer. I've done some job site visits to assess health and safety issues. When I'm invited, I also attend some OH&S meetings. And with COVID, I've started to reach out to OH&S members to ensure that they're feeling confident in their role on the OH&S committee, and they're able to use the committee to ensure healthy and safe workplaces, especially right now. It's so important.
So, and I know I've had the opportunity to hear some of those success stories that you've had helping our members out, and we've shared some of them on our website as well as in our member magazine, The Local Voice. And one of the recent stories I remember had to do with you helping one of our members appeal a WCB ruling and was able to get them compensation for a wrist injury that occurred because of a repetitive strain at work. So, and actually, the people who are watching this video, they can actually go to our website. If you look under resources, and you click on occupational health and safety, you'll be able to find a link to that story. So that was a great story, and I'm sure you have a lot. And obviously, I know member privacy means that there's only certain things here and there that you can share. But is there one that sticks out in particular?
Well, I deal with a lot of computer-related repetitive strain injuries. So a lot of office workers develop conditions in their arms, carpal tunnel syndrome, epicondylitis, things like this. The WCB, unfortunately, denies these types of claims at a really high rate. I'd say it's a pretty unfair system when it comes to these types of injuries. And so I deal with them a lot. What's key are specific details. So, for example, there was a case I was working on, and there was a software change at work which required more mouse use and mouse use between two screens in particular. This one piece of evidence was very key to this person's appeal. So the point is, if you develop symptoms as a result of repetitive computer use, it's important to think about these little specific details and changes to work that may play a causative role. Even yesterday, I had a hearing where the member was moved to a desk where she was processing one type of bill over and over again. It required extensive use of the tab key prior to her injury starting, and it's a key fact in the appeal, and another example of the detailed information we need. Um, it may not be very exciting, but these cases are very important, and it's important to report injuries related to repetitive computer use.
And should people be reporting that to their supervisors at work, or if they're an OHS community, or should they be coming to you directly with that?
No, they should be reporting it to their managers or supervisors, and they should be reporting it to the OH&S committee at their work site.
Um, Now, obviously, I don't think I'm going to go out on a limb here by saying that COVID-19 presents a challenge that you've never seen before. Certainly, a lot of people around the world haven't faced a challenge like this in the past. So, what are some of the things that you're dealing with more now related to COVID-19 and some of the fallout?
Well, I say one of the major issues is dealing with workplaces that haven't implemented proper exposure prevention methods. So when that comes up, I have to reach out to the employer and deal with it rather quickly. Other issues that have been coming up in light of COVID, disinfectant supplies, protective wear, cleaning schedules at workplaces, and ergonomics while working from home are probably the most commonly seen concerns from our members lately.
And I want to touch on that a little bit more about working from home because I think a lot of people want to know what their rights are when they are working from home because obviously it seems that there's a shift in terms of when you're at a workplace you understand that okay it's the employer's responsibility to make sure that my workplace is safe, but what happens when it's your own home?
Yeah, so employers first off don't have the right to enter your home. That's clear. But they do have a duty to ensure their workers' health and safety while they work from home. So under OH&S law, there's a requirement for employers to have a working from home policy and a working in isolation policy for those people who work at home when no one else is around in case there's an emergency. So many employers have been sending out working from home OH&S checklists that include ensuring things like there's a proper emergency exit, there's sufficient room to work, how to set up an ergonomically sound workplace, to name a few of the items included on this checklist.
So one of the things that I'm curious about is kind of are there limits? And what I mean by that is, so say I'm working from home and I injure myself. So first of all, what do I have to do? And then, for example, if I've got my home office, say, set up in my basement, and I fall down the stairs while I'm on my way to the basement, is that considered a workplace injury? And then how do I prove that it happened while I was on the job, so to speak, or if I was just going down there outside of my work?
Right. So the first thing is any injury you sustain while working from home needs to be reported to your employer. This is to ensure, first of all, that they're aware, and second of all, that there's documentation in case the injury progresses and you need to file a WCB claim. So reporting is definitely a must about with these issues. So um, now, whether you're walking down the stairs to your basement office, whether that would be compensable. So for each case, the WCB looks at a number of factors to determine whether a worker is in the course of their employment at the time of their injury. In the course of a worker's employment generally refers to whether the injury happened at a time and place and during an activity consistent with and reasonably incidental to the obligations and expectations of the worker's employment. Time and place are not strictly limited to the normal hours of work or the employer's premises. So some of the factors include whether the worker's getting paid at the time, whether they were doing something for the benefit of the employer at the time, whether the employer instructed the worker, whether it was part of the job, etc. The factors go on. So for someone who falls down the stairs on their way to their home office, I would suggest it might be viewed as the same as if someone got into an accident on the way to driving to work. And for that reason, this may not be compensable. But again, in order to properly answer the question, there has to be analysis, and it involves a weighing of factors to determine whether the worker would be entitled to compensation. So it's not black and white. Every situation is different, and there's a weighing of factors that happens.
Awesome. And then, of course, the flip side of that is we have a lot of members here at MoveUp who are still attending the work sites because of the nature of their jobs. Certainly, a lot of members whose roles are the are society depends on them, and they require them to be physically at their workplaces. And I'm thinking of members that we have that say work at ICBC or BC Hydro and BC Fortis or credit unions, those types of areas. So if they have health and safety concerns, as I'm sure many of us do these days, what do they have to do in order to raise those concerns if there's something at their work sites?
Yeah, so again, you need to raise it with your manager or supervisor, as well as the OH&S committee. So at the very least, everybody in the workplace should know who the worker representative is on the OH&S committee. The employer has a legal obligation to ensure a healthy and safe workplace. So that's why you have to report any health and safety issues to your manager or supervisor. But that said, the OH&S committee is supposed to ensure that the employer is doing what they should under the law. It's a very powerful position, and I would say most workplaces underutilize their OH&S committees. So the take home is you report it to your manager or supervisor and the OH&S committee at your local work site.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know you've always got a lot on your plate. But the one thing I really want to make sure that we address was the issue of mental health. I want to tell a little bit of a story about myself. I tend to think of myself as being a mentally tough, kind of grinded out kind of person. But even I have felt like over this last month, some moments where I feel distressed about things I didn't used to feel distressed about. And I think that has a lot to do with not being able to see some of my friends and family regularly, or not being able to do some of the things that I enjoy now because they're closed down, or out of being responsible, you don't want to be doing those things. So, what do you tell people who have concerns about how the situation is affecting their mental well-being?
Well, I'd start off by saying that likely mostly everybody right now who's dealing with COVID is feeling the psychological impact of the stress of the pandemic, isolation, um, and that it's okay to feel that way. Like, it's okay. You need to be gentle with yourself. You need to be kind with yourself right now, and reach out for help if you're struggling. So many employers have employee assistance programs with counselors available. There are other resources available. For instance, just one off the top of my head, psychologist.bc.ca has a COVID-19 resource where psychologists are volunteering their time to help people coping with the struggle of COVID right now. So that's a really great resource. There's plenty more. If you can contact me if you would like some more of those resources. But it's important to reach out if you're struggling.
That's fantastic. And of course, I want to remind everybody too that we have put together a list of a lot of resources on our moveuptogether.ca/flatten the curve webpage. There's links to financial resources, as well as health resources and mental health resources. So I really do encourage everyone to go check that out. But also send us a note. You can get in contact with our communications department here. You can get in contact with Niki as well. If there's something that you come across that you really feel is worthwhile for us to add, that we can share with other members as well. So on that note, Niki, I want to say again, thank you for taking the time. Do you have anything else that you want to share before we wrap up here?
I would like to uh, say that everybody should join the OH&S committees at their local work sites to ensure the health and safety of coworkers and themselves. This is a way to deal with health and safety issues appropriately, to keep employers accountable. It's an active way to be involved in your workplace and to stand up for worker rights. So that's my final bit of wisdom, I suppose, is join your OH&S committee.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Niki. I really appreciate you taking the time. Please stay safe, and I really look forward to being able to see you again soon.
All right, thank you so much.